Well, welcome back. Today we have a 1938 Packard Super 8. This is a model 1605 touring sedan. This has a 320 cubic inch straight 8, putting out 120 horsepower. This particular car was rebuilt some years ago. I believe it was a frame-off restoration by a man down in Texas, and quite well done. It was also built as a touring car, so as such it's got a lot of modifications that aren't exactly factory, but this is still a great example of a fine car. It's very big. It's a 139-inch wheelbase and weighs 4,700 pounds dry. So wet, including the modifications, is going to be quite a bit more. I've not weighed it on a scale, but I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere between 5,000 to 5,500 or more. So take a look inside at the engine. So this has been rebuilt, and what you see here is it's actually a 39 block and a 38 lower crankcase. Long story short, the original engine in here had a crack in the block that developed and lost compression. That was fairly common on the 38s. There was some sort of problem with the metallurgy that year, and so the 38s are known to have that issue. It took actually almost 10 years in order for us to get that corrected. We tried to weld and patch and sleeve the original block. That failed. We found a donor block, and turns out it had too much corrosion, and after the rebuild was complete, that one also failed. So I've been through a few different blocks. We finally did a 39 block, so we don't have the metal problems, and it mates up just fine to a 38 crankcase. These are two separate pieces, by the way, and the difference though is the water pump. So the 38 water pump is gigantic. Okay, it goes all the way out, almost to the radiator, way out here, which allows the nose of the car to be much longer. The 39 is a little bit shorter on the nose than the 38, and the water pump is also much shorter. This is a 39 pump. These are very hard to find. So the fan actually would sit much closer to here, which is about 6 inches away from the radiator. So what we had to do is make up a bit of a spacer for the pulley in order to line up the belt correctly with the crank down there on the bottom, and I had to use an electric fan. I could have made a shroud, but I think the electric fan is fine for what we need. And again, this car's had a lot of modifications, and so we're trying to get it close to factory, but it won't ever be fully factory. So the lower crankcase on these cars is aluminum, so it's supposed to lighten the weight. Upper is all iron. It's very big, very heavy. This is the water jacket here on the side, so it comes out of the water pump and goes all the way down and shoots next to all the cylinders and valves. These cars also had a fuel filter. Back in the day, this was a Purolator filter. You would take these off and throw it away and put on a new one. This is a reproduction that you can spin off. You can see there's a seam right there, and inside is a modern oil filter. So going down to the bottom here, there is an oil cooler. That's a factory thing there. Here would have been a generator. It's been converted to an alternator. The gentleman that rebuilt this car changed everything over to 12-volt. Fuel pump down here with the sediment bowl on the inlet side, and then going to the outlet side. The original fuel line here has a braided cloth sheath over it. I took that off because it was having some issues, and I replaced it with a modern one for now. Starter is here. This is original. It has been rebuilt to be able to handle 12 volts. On the coil here, these cars came with armored cable, and that came out right here and then went along and back into the cab to the ignition switch, and it made it so you couldn't tie into the ignition and steal the car. Problem with this one was the wire on the inside of that armored cable was deteriorated to the point where it shorted out, and it actually caught fire on that cable. So that's out, and I've just hooked up a temporary cable for now, little wire over to the ignition switch, and eventually I'll replace that with something that looks a little bit better. The distributor sits on top of the engine. This is an original distributor. The cap is not. So the original cap has a much different design, and the wires are integrated into the cap itself. Those are no longer available. Going around to the other side of the engine here, pop this side up. Got the Stromberg carburetor. This has been rebuilt, probably needs a little bit more tuning. I did add a Carter fuel filter in front of it so that I could keep an eye on the fuel and see what things are doing. As I said before, the line here originally had a sheath there to prevent heat transfer. I don't have anything like that right now, and to my knowledge, there was no heat shield over here between the carb and the exhaust manifold, which you see right there. So if you look at the Carter bowl here, it looks like it's fairly empty. So it looks like some of the stuff is kind of boiled off there. I am using non-ethanol gas though, so keep an eye on that. Got the original intake here. See the exhaust manifold goes down into a single exhaust pipe. Now the gentleman that restored the car wanted air conditioning because he was in Texas. It was very hot. I currently do not have it hooked up or charged, but the complete system is here in the car, along with interior controls and all sorts of things there. So this car was also equipped with trip lights here in the front that work. This does have also the automatic grill louvers. Up here on the top of the radiator is the thermostat for that, and you can see that that's pulled out. So once it hits 135 degrees Fahrenheit, that starts to activate, which then opens up the louvers and allows airflow to the radiator. I have the electronic fan set to about 170 for it to kick on, and it does a good job of sealing the engine and, or excuse me, not sealing the engine, but cooling the engine. This model has the dual side mounts. I do have tires in there. They are uninflated at the moment. The side mounts look pretty. They are very heavy, and so it is much more difficult to steer the car with that much weight on the front. It's also very difficult to work around the engine when you have this huge thing that you have to lay over in order to get to the inside. Running boards, new rubber on those, new chrome everywhere, also new rubber on the top. That's all been redone. Going towards the back, no trunk rack on this car. The trunk is taken up with, got a lot of parts in there right now, but that big black box that you see is part of the air conditioning system. There's a front and a back to it. It did work in the past, but again, with the engine rebuild, that's all been kind of disassembled and not been recharged. Where I live at, it's just not something that needs to be done, so it's not likely that I'll end up doing that anytime soon. But pretty lines on the car, very, very beautiful. Fenders kind of flow into one another. The running board and lower edge of the car has that slight curve to it from front to back. Very pleasing. So this car was painted in a kind of a Miami sand / Packard yellow color. The green is not, I would say, totally original to the car, but it's a nice accent. Good pinstripes and things like that too. Now the gentleman that had it restored liked the green so much that he did the interior in it. Now this is not a factory original finish inside. This would have been more of a tan wool broadcloth. But that being said, you could order anything that you wanted. So theoretically, somebody could have ordered green. So this is all green leather, actual leather, from kind of top to bottom. The upper, got the headliner is just cloth, and the rest of this is leather from top to bottom. Door panels as well. Wood graining has all been redone. Rubber's all been redone. Everything is new. Looking here at the dash, got the original gauges which some of them work, some of them don't currently. Two little LED lights in there that were added during the restoration. Fuel gauge currently doesn't work. Working on getting that going. Inside here is where they put in the vintage air control system to control everything. Again, I don't have it hooked up. And a little bit of a little gauge there for the battery condition as well. This has, we do have turn signals that have been added also. You can see some of the vents here for the vintage air system. There's the air handle underneath. It takes up an enormous amount of space. I'm not a huge fan of having it in here. Now on these cars, the battery is underneath, excuse me, the seat here. So you lift up the seat, battery's underneath there. This is a 3-speed manual. It does have overdrive that's been added, and the lockout knob is right down here next to the steering column. Going to the back, I do have some parts back here because I'm in the middle of doing some projects on the car, so I apologize. But the back is absolutely enormous. So down here, there's a nice footrest that you can either flip away, get it out of the way, or put it up. And when it's down like this, it is fantastic. I feel like I'm sitting on a very, very comfortable sofa, and this car is so long. In-floor heater as well. Now these things are jump seats. Pull those out, pop that up, that's original. And they are very, very sturdy. I mean, if you look at the metal on these, it is very thick. So these work great, and they also stow out of the way if you want more leg room for your passengers. But just a beautiful view back here. There are sunshades as well on the back windows that you can pull down. Little grab handles here to help get you in and out. Cigarette lighter, ashtray, and then we have the vent windows here that you can open up and close as your heart desires. There's also a vent back here on the back window, or not a vent, a screen that comes back here, and it clips up there at the top if you so desire. Armrest that folds down here as well, and you can see we have part of the air handler there in the back for the back part of the air conditioner system. And he also installed some nice little vents down here on the floor on either side. So things are well done with that, but where I live, again, it's just not going to be something that needs to happen. Doors close well. And there you go. That's a 1938 Packard Super 8. Beautiful car. This one still needs a little bit of work to get it fully roadworthy and back where it needs to be. But it's just a fantastic looking car. You can see I'm missing a little piece of chrome there on the hood. Well, let me know any questions that you might have. Might be able to answer those. But regardless, I hope that you enjoyed taking a look here with me.